the possibility to set up a database. So let's say the structure of a database, because it's not completely filled now, dealing on oldest wooden objects. And I want to show you the way how we proceeded. So the life cycle of wood, we just discussed it. You know, it's not really to keep as we would like. So the way is really to degrade, coming back to soil again. So that's a problem. But it's different, as you know, if it's wood is underwater, like an example from the pile dwellings in Central Europe, or if it's dry, like a very nice example of the temples in Japan or somewhere else, or if you have a special environment. That's my very special research topic, because I'm working in the salt mine in Hallstatt, where you can find very old wooden pieces. This is about 3,300 years old. Looks very nice. We're talking about wood culture. We have heard this wording culture quite often today. There's a lot of definitions. I've picked some, just one as an example. It's what we have heard is learning, sharing behavior, and interacting between the human beings and the material. In our case, of course, it's wood. So that's important, because we are talking about wood culture. So the questions are, what we are looking for, is it a minimum requirement? Is it just the use of wood as fuel, for example? Is this wood culture or not? I can't give you an answer on this. It's just something we had to have in our mind, because we can find very old remnants of charcoal, which could be or should be related to humans and should be related to wood culture anyway. Is it just a minimalistic processing of wood? There's one example from Europe again, these spears. It's mainly just a branch, but the tip was, so it's at the other end. It was machined, it was tooled by stone, of course. Is this culture? Is this wood culture or not? Or is it just, let's say, the high culture? One example from Europe again. This very nice big chair. I can't give you an answer. The idea of this database is to give a little bit an answer on this, to put all these pieces of the puzzle together, to have an overview on wooden objects. What I've told you, the goal is to have an overview, global overview on wooden objects and wooden cultural objects. So we're not looking on petrified forest, for example, because that's not wood culture. Of course, it's very interesting. So it has to be possessed by human beings, otherwise it wouldn't be wooden culture. So you can see here quite some examples. Some of them are well known, some not. The question oldest, very often I had discussions on this with colleagues. We don't have the oldest. Yes, maybe you have the oldest, because we are looking for the region. It's not a list of, let's say, 10 oldest objects in the world. It should be hundreds and thousands, because the oldest wooden house in US is very young compared to regions like here or in Europe. But it's interesting to see the oldest wooden houses in US, which century and so on. The same for ships, like here from the Vikings. Are they the oldest ships worldwide or not? Of course, you can see a lot of canoes and so on. So that's really the background. It should be for the region or for the lab, because we mainly host labs doing dating of wood up to now. Otherwise, it wouldn't be possible to get a global overview. And of course, we are asking for precisely dated wood. And that's a problem. This problem of tropical trees, dendrochronology is not that easy in tropical regions, as we know. Anyway, it's not just related to dendrochronology. It could be radiocarbon, but or other methods, some few ones, which would be acceptable. So it's not only, let's say, ethnological dating or something like this, so it should be really precisely dating. And to set up this database and interactive web page, we have decided a structure of 8 categories. Maybe it's not meaningful, so maybe we can still discuss this. So we put a lot of discussions on this, to setting up this structure. So first, there's no order, just putting here. Buildings and constructions, whole wooden buildings, roof constructions, whatever. Infrastructure could be bridges, something like this. All kind of means of transport, like the wheels, which is quite interesting, for example. Of course, tools and tool handles. It don't have to be the tool itself. And very important part here is art, ritual, and musical instruments. We've put these 3 categories together. Any kind of containers, vessels, whatever. Of course, furniture, and that's what we discussed at the beginning, fuel and lighting and so on. So if it's really wood culture or not. And to give an example for the various subcategories we had, it's the category building. So we have the completely wooden building, like a block building in Europe. Sub-constructions, this could be the roof construction again. Just a single element, we have seen the beam from John. This would be a single element. Other constructions like the stair we have seen at the beginning also. All kind of wooden machines, big wooden machines, presses to, for example, to press the grapes, for example. And of course we have always other, because we don't know all the stuff worldwide. And of course there would be the possibility to dig for the others. Another subcategories we've put here, for example, for the art, ritual, and musical instrument, of course masks. You can find masks everywhere around the globe. We can find sculptures everywhere. Panel painting, that's maybe a little bit European style. Instruments, string instruments, percussion instruments, wind instruments, and of course others. So this was the idea, because oldest, coming back to the question of oldest, because we're looking for the oldest art, ritual, musical instrument, oldest mask, oldest sculpture, and so on. So that's the reason why we do have these categories and subcategories, that you can have a kind of sorting. Yeah, finally, you can find all this data on this webpage. By the way, you can find some leaflets about this page somewhere around in the room and outside the room. So it's oldestwoodenobjects.net, where you can bring in the data, and that's really the request I have to you. Bring in data. Just have to type in here on the template. It was quite critical to set up this template. We have a map here, so you can check if your coordinates are right or not, because you type in coordinates of Cambodia and you find somewhere in the US, then you see that there's a mistake of the coordinates, and so on. Object details, so name, and so on. Publications, if available, it's nice, but not necessary. And of course the contact and so on. And that's an early view of the exploring page. So this was contribution, that's exploring. In principle you can see the whole globe. It's mainly the European part. And and then you can see here, there are some elements taken in. And yeah, coming to, let's say, an interim report. That's the state of the art of the 7th of May, because we had to send the presentation on 9th, so this was counting on 7th of March. And in the category infrastructure, we had 20 entries, quite old, 5,200 before Christ was the oldest one. In means of transport, much older, 8,900 before Christ.
Before Christ or before present?
That's before Christ. It's minus. It's not BP. It's a dated. Thanks for this question, because that's not the easiest. So we are asking really for the dates, and not for the raw carbon dating. So you should find the real dates. That's problematic, I know. Yeah, and so on. You can see art. There's a very young one, 100 years old. Yeah, but anyway. But it's still, as I remember right, that's a violin, but as I remember right, it's the only violin we have in the database at the moment. It's not the oldest. Of course it's not the oldest. But we have to wait for the other data. For containers, something Roman from Europe also. Furniture, it's also quite interesting. It's a quite early part of furniture, almost 900 years old. Fuel and lightning and others. So what's the problem at the moment at this database? If you have a look on the map, then you will find data in Europe. No data in Asia, no data in America, no data in Africa. That's not because we don't like it. I've contacted a lot of persons personally I know, a lot of persons give me the answer, okay, we will bring in the data. Not up to now, unfortunately. So we're still waiting for the entries. So reaching the labs is problematic. A lot of discussions also, oh, it takes so much time. It's not possible to do at the moment, so maybe later. Later is not now. Sometimes we had technical problems. You can't imagine how many different versions of exploring software system people are using, and we have to have all of them in mind to have the possibility to bring in the data. Anyway, if there are technical data, then just send an email, just send us the data and we will bring it in. That's no problem. And this was really a big problem, especially with colleagues from Switzerland and Germany in Europe, is data protection law. They told me it's not possible to bring in the data because we have to protect the data and so on. And then I said to the colleagues, yeah, but you have published a book and you can find this building here and that in another book and so on. No answer anymore, but that's really the way how it could work. Because as soon as it's published, it's really no problem to bring it. So that's really the state of the art at the moment. So we're really waiting for much more data. We just recently started, because it was not really the idea to have a look on literature. Literature is complicated. As we discussed just with Peter, which way of presenting radiocarbon datings, for example. Sometimes it's not really precisely given. Sometimes it's just the dating of the archaeological finding itself, but not the piece of wood. If it's correct or not, that's very hard to say. And when we put the first data in, before we send out to the other labs, we brought also some well-known literature, European well-known literature in. And some colleagues answered, hey, that's not really the right part of literature. There is something which is much more new, the same information, but they were a little bit disappointed. So that's the reason why we skipped a little bit the idea of literature, but we came back and just started on a quite big literature view. But I still hope, and it was really the idea, for the contribution of all of your colleagues and friends and so on. Yeah, so thanks for your attention, and please bring in the data. Take these leaflets and bring it to your colleagues, and we're waiting. We will maintain this page as long as possible, so as I still have some months and years to work, so up to my time of retention. So I hope it will grow, and I'm quite sure that it's a helpful database, and it will be really a very nice way of presenting wood culture on a global view. Thank you.